Thanksgiving. What is it? Where did it start and what was eaten? Let's find out. It originated as a harvest festival where today that tradition remains as what we currently know as Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving, or rather, American Thanksgiving, is currently celebrated on the fourth Thursday in November each year. On October 3, 1789, George Washington made a proclamation and created the first Thanksgiving Day that was designated by the national government of the United States of America. Then, on January 1, 1795, Washington proclaimed a Thanksgiving Day to be observed on Thursday, February 19. Skipping ahead to nearly 100 years later. In 1863, President Lincoln claimed Thanksgiving as a national holiday. In his proclamation, he said, "I do therefore invite my fellow citizens in every part of the United States, and also those who are at sea, and those who are sojourning in foreign lands, to set apart and observe the last Thursday of November next, as a day of thanksgiving and praise, to our beneficent Father, who dwelleth in the heavens." On June 28, 1870, President Ulysses S. Grant signed into law the Holidays Act, marking Thanksgiving a yearly appointed federal holiday in Washington, D.C. On January 6, 1885, an act by Congress made Thanksgiving, and other federal holidays, a paid holiday for all federal workers in the United States. Under President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the date was moved to 1 week earlier, observed between 1939 and 1941 with backlash from the public. Thus, in 1942, Franklin D. Roosevelt passed a law from Congress, giving Thanksgiving a permanent observation date, the fourth Thursday in November. A brief history of the first Thanksgiving. The settlers, or pilgrims, had settled on abandoned land where all but one of the Patuxet Indians had previously died in a disease outbreak. Soon after, a harsh winter had killed nearly half the Plymouth settlers. The last surviving Patuxet, Tisquantum, commonly known now as Squanto, came at the request of Samoset, who was the first Native American to make contact with the Pilgrims. Tisquantum had taught the Pilgrims tools for survival. He introduced the settlers to fur trade and taught them how to sow and fertilize native crops. The seeds which the Pilgrims brought from England had mostly failed. As food shortages worsened, Plymouth Colony Governor William Bradford relied on Tisquantum to pilot a ship of settlers on a trading expedition around treacherous Cape Cod. It was on that voyage that Tisquantum contracted what Bradford called an Indian fever. He passed away a few short days later, with Bradford by his side. What we call the first Thanksgiving was celebrated by the Pilgrims, who were New England settlers or separatists, who wanted complete separation from the church. This celebration marked their first harvest in their new world, at Plymouth Plantation in Massachusetts, somewhere between September and November of 1621. The New England colonists were accustomed to celebrating Thanksgivings, or days of prayer, thanking God for blessings like military victories, or upon seeing the end of a drought. The feast had lasted for 3 days, and as recounted by attendee Edward Winslow, was attended by 90 Native Americans, and the surviving 53 Pilgrims. The feast itself. The Thanksgiving feast was cooked by the 4 adult Pilgrim women who survived their first winter: Eleanor Billington, Elizabeth Hopkins, Mary Brewster, and Susanna White, along with young daughters as well as both male and female servants. The original feast consisted of waterfowl, venison, lobster, clams, berries, fruit, pumpkin, and squash. William Bradford, the settler who went on to become governor of Plymouth County for 30 years, had noted down that, besides waterfowl, there was great store of wild turkeys, of which they took many. Most of the food was eaten by hand, as utensils like forks, were uncommon amongst common folk like the Pilgrims were. Here are some side facts. Alexander Hamilton himself once proclaimed that no citizen of the United States should refrain from turkey on Thanksgiving Day. Benjamin Franklin had high regard for the wild turkey as an American icon, but eating turkey was uncommon, much like the Thanksgiving celebration, until after the early 1800s. By 1857, turkey had become part of the traditional dinner in New England. The White House Cookbook, written in 1887, penned by Mrs. F. L. Gillette and Hugo Zyman, had the Thanksgiving menu of oysters on half shell, cream of chicken soup, fried smelts, sauce tartare, roast turkey, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, baked squash, boiled onions, parsnip fritters, olives, chicken salad, venison pastry, pumpkin pie, mince pie, charlotte russe, almond ice cream, lemon jelly, hickory nut cake, cheese, fruits, and coffee. Modern times. Currently, turkey is the main food item, gaining a nickname for the Day of Turkey Day. According to the University of Illinois, 46 million turkeys are eaten each Thanksgiving, from roughly 88% of the population. Regardless of what you eat, or who you eat it with, have a safe and thankful Thanksgiving.